Here is George Stephanopoulos asking Joe Biden if he is willing to take a neurological exam.
You said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a full physical. I had, I've been at Walter Reed for my physicals. Yes, the answer is.
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
No one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
Good.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do. Not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are
No, it doesn't sound like hyperbole. You're the president of the of the United States. You're expected to do that to a certain extent. I was waiting for George to say, "Would you play checkers with me right now on camera? do you want to play checkers right now for the American people? I'll let you in. I'll move my back row."
And not soon. Even regular checkers, Chinese checkers.
Yeah, Chinese checkers. Exactly. Yeah.
Central nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail, but with Netanyahu. I'm on the phone with
Okay, so I want to zero in on that.
With the Prime Minister of, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail.
The Prime Minister of, well, I shouldn't get into detail with Netanyahu. So people like to, some apologists like to say this is a stutter, right? That the stutter is what is behind a lot of this. It is possible that when you are a stutterer, you run into words that give you problems, and so you come up with another word, a replacement word or a replacement phrase so that you don't stop. I talked with the Prime Minister of, like, if you can't get the word Israel out, you'll reset and you'll say Netanyahu. Or, but if you are a stutterer, you sometimes do have to do that. I had a slight problem with this as a kid. And so sometimes you have to work around a word that you can't physically get out. Throughout his whole career, he was able to do that. You're able to find those workarounds because he had a brain. Right. So I'm not denying that there is a stutter there. But the reason you couldn't say Israel and you had to reset and restart and, what did I say? Netanyahu. It's because your mind is not capable of thinking that quickly anymore. So now when you stutter, you melt down. I guarantee you that's where that record player's line was. I guarantee you he meant to say parents have to play music, but he probably couldn't get the word music out because you don't want to go parents have to play music. So he tried to come up with some other way to say they're going to play music. And what did he do? He came up with a ridiculous sounding alternative because he's not sharp anymore. Like if you have a stutter and you know you're going to have to think on your feet and change your word choice, if you have your wits about you, especially as a professional politician, you can do that. He can't do that anymore. So even if you're going to blame it on a stutter, the reason that the stutter is manifesting in these breakdowns, and I don't concede that every one of these breakdowns, it can be blamed on that. But I'm saying even if you do attribute it to that, the reason they're causing these hiccups is because his mind is so much slower than it always was, obviously. Right. But anyway, we can go ahead.
With Netanyahu. I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we're doing with regard to, in Europe, with regard to expansion of NATO and whether it's going to stick. I'm taking on Putin. Every day, there's no day I go through, there are not those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you have been doing that, and the American people have been watching, yet their concerns about your age and your health are growing. So that's why I'm asking, to reassure them, would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this campaign. It's over 125 days.
So the answer,
make a decision.
The right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that right now.
I've already done it.
That's an old man, man.
That's what they told him to say. Yep. That is definitely what they told him to say. They racked their brains. Okay, how do we get out of the cognitive test? He's going to ask. Tell him the presidency is a cognitive test. What else is it? What can he say other than, yes, I'm taking one tomorrow? Like, what could he say that would be less shitty than that?
Yeah.
Than what he said. Like, there is just no way to put a good face on the fact that you clearly are afraid of what the results of a cognitive test would be. I personally, no honest observer doubted the prosecutorial team that decided not to go after him on the classified documents because they felt a jury would see that this man doesn't know what he's doing. Of course, the press, the usual suspects, attacked him. I never doubted it. I never thought that was planted there to damage Biden. I thought that's probably what happened. If that had been the case, somebody who'd been in the room would have leaked. No, this was just designed to damage Biden. Yeah, what? You had no libs in that room when he was being questioned? Come on.
No, that made sense. It made perfect sense to me that you have to prove someone's state of mind if you're going to prosecute them. And how can you prove the state of mind of someone like this? Right. No, but that answer, and what you're saying makes sense, that was the only answer he could have given. But that answer legit reminded me when my grandfather was getting up there, he got into a car accident where he shot out into the road. He didn't have the right of way. He was making a left turn, shot out into the road, and a car T-boned him. It's a miracle he lived, and he was actually fine. Like, he didn't have any injuries. Thank God neither did the other driver. But he insisted that he had plenty of room and that she was going too fast. And it's very clearly not what happened. Very clearly you did not see her coming because you're not the spring chicken you once were, and you went out into the road when you shouldn't have, and she hit you. And there was just no way to get out of him that it was his fault. He just would not let that go, because to let that go is to admit that you shouldn't be driving anymore. Like, those days are behind you. And that's what that looks like there. Are you willing to take a cognitive exam? I take one every day. Clearly not the question. And the narcissism of the guy to be answering questions that way when, I won't say half the country, a third of the country, all the shit libs in the country, which is a third of the country, is counting on you to beat Hitler in their mind. I'm not saying that's the situation, but when you know that a third of the country, 100 million people, are counting on you to literally save America, and you are just that stubborn in your denial that anything is wrong, that speaks to your character, that you do not have the humility to let go of the reins when you so clearly cannot steer the ship anymore. Pardon the mixed metaphor.
Honestly, we've gone back and forth on this online. You've been on the he's going to be gone, he's going to be gone, he's going to be gone, which I don't necessarily disagree with. But I have always felt he's this kind of an asshole, and he's surrounded by mercenary, fucking evil people. Yeah. Jill Biden, is James Biden, Hunter. These are blood-sucking fucking vampires. And they want to suck every last ounce of power and influence out of the decaying corpse of this man rather than to give up the presidency. Look at the information that's come out since the debate about how they've shielded him. They've kept even the household staff, the servants, away from him so no one can see how demented he is. And they're telling this guy who's already that core personality, he's a narcissistic asshole. He doesn't want to quit. They don't want him to quit. I don't know how they're going to have to force him out, but I don't think there comes a day that they willingly decide to give it up.
No, it's going to take the top brass. It's going to take Hakeem Jeffries.
They might have to 25th Amendment that shit. I am not kidding. These are really scummy people propping up a demented narcissist. Like, where does the decision to give up their position come from? There's nobody in this equation who will, unless they're forced to. Now, we're not insiders. We don't know what level of threats are deployed in situations like this, but they're not going to go willingly. That's
It's
all
the
I'm
money.
saying.
It's the money, Lebowski. You already have the Disney heiress saying she's not donating. Ari Emanuel
Well,
saying
it doesn't
he's
mean they'll step
and
down, though.
it's going to become impossible. And sooner or later, and my gamble is sooner, because you're seeing. We're probably going to do a thorough piece on this on Tuesday when there's even more information. But you have Mark Warner trying to get some senators together. The governor of Massachusetts says he should step down. You have probably now over a half dozen members of Congress. Russell, you sent me something this afternoon that said 4 more are coming out.
Because Hakeem Jeffries had a teleconference.
Jeffries had a teleconference. You got Adam Schiff now saying maybe, if he can't beat Trump overwhelmingly, Kamala's going to have to. At a certain point, it's going to get to Obama. It's going to get to Hillary. It's going to get to Clyburn, and they're just not going to be able to raise money. It's just going to become impossible.
There was just an outlier poll. And believe me, they're going to tout that poll, showing that it's one outlier poll, showing that Biden's numbers got better after the debate.
Yeah. No, they look, they're not going to go easily, but I do believe that when the top brass speaks, they will just have no choice but to listen, because they're not going to be able to raise money. And this is the thing. The thing that fucks the Democrats is when the donors start withdrawing money. Because that fucks with everybody's bread. I mean, that now you're talking about an existential thing, right?
Sure.
And so
but
I think
what do you do what do you do if you have a president who is demented, who in the face of all that refuses to resign, which could happen because of the way I read him and the people around him? Do they have to go 25th Amendment? I'm not saying they won't. Or does the DNC
invalidate some procedure where the DNC says your delegates are invalid, whatever. We vote to invalidate delegates.
I'm not saying he's not going to be out. I'm saying I don't know that it's going to be with their consent.
Well, that remains to be seen. It does.
Please clap.